My question is, can these judges, serious question I need y'all to answer, can these judges be fired?
If a judge tried to tell a general how to conduct a military operation, that would be illegal. If a judge tried to command the attorney general and how to use her discretion as a prosecutor, that's also illegal. Judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate power. The word legitimate is doing a lot of work here, but we do know that judges do get to say whether the executive is complying with the law or not. That's
legitimate is legitimate.
That's been the case for decades, hundreds of years.
Well, I think there's a difference between saying whether you're complying with the law and then you have these individual district court judges setting effectively broad federal policy that is specifically reserved for the president of the United States. I think we do have a constitutional crisis, and it's being caused by these judges. They're not here to tell us. They're not here to tell us how to spend the money. They're not here to set broad federal policy. That is the president's job as elected by the people. These judges are supposed to be settling discrete, specific matters, not policy setting. I think Vance is right. I think Trump has a point. And these judges want nothing more to continue the lawfare against Trump.
I don't think anybody's going to.
Amen to that. They definitely want to continue the lawfare against Donald Trump. Honestly, CNN is only bearable at this point because of Scott Jennings, man. This guy calling out the hypocrisy in real time is what we live for, right? We're going to watch the full extended clip of that Scott Jennings posted, but I want to update y'all on what's actually going on with these judges. And Wokeness actually posted, never forget that unelected judges tried to take our right to vote by unilaterally taking Trump's name off our ballots. And the lawfare is apparently continuing as biochemical research funding cut is at stake, right? A federal judge granted a temporary restraining order blocking the Trump administration from implementing drastic cuts to biochemical research and funding across 22 states that filed a lawsuit. This was seen as violating the Administrative Procedure Act. Not only that, a federal employee buyout plan, right? So the U.S. The U.S. District Judge George A. Tolley Jr. in Boston extended a pause on Trump's plan to get millions of federal workers to resign until he rules on a preliminary injunction. Then we got more, and even more beyond this I'll get to later. Judge John J. McConnell Jr. in Rhode Island ordered the Trump administration to immediately restore federal funding that had been frozen after finding that the administration was not in full compliance with the previous temporary restraining order. This was following a lawsuit by a coalition of 22 states. And we got a couple more, but as I promised, we're going to go ahead and get into that extended clip.
Well, I think there's a difference between saying whether you're complying with the law and then you have these individual district court judges setting effectively broad federal policy that is specifically reserved for the president of the United States. I think we do have a constitutional crisis, and it's being caused by these judges. They're not here to tell us. They're not here to tell us how to spend the money. They're not here to set broad federal policy. That is the president's job as elected by the people. These judges are supposed to be settling discrete, specific matters, not policy setting. I think Vance is right. I think Trump has a point. And these judges want nothing more to continue the lawfare against Trump.
I don't think anybody's in the executive branch saying, no, I don't feel like it, and the courts say you have to.
Well, my answer to that simply is, it is the executive branch's job to figure out how to spend money once it is appropriated by Congress. And sometimes they spend money that's not been appropriated. But the correct political control is between the executive and the Congress.
I want to return to that.
There are not repercussions. You get away.
I get it. You want individual federal judges who hate Donald Trump
No, I don't.
to tie him up for 4 years.
No, I don't.
If you want big policy questions decided, let the Supreme Court do it. But in the interim, the executive has to be allowed to govern.
Am I wrong about that?
Well, you're supposed to comply, but Scott's absolutely right in that the court cannot say you have to spend these dollars today. So as a governor, I dealt with this. We got things challenged in state court and federal court. It's all judge shopped, by the way. Judges don't randomly get these cases. There's a reason that these cases are filed in Boston, the Boston court, or a certain district, Rhode Island, because they know they're going to get a judge.
You raise the right point. Should the president,
the
singular president, should he have to share the presidency with 300 district court judges? No.
Great point. He's the president, man.
Absolutely not.
But the point, though, you made a really good point that there have been judges that
shut down some of President Biden's executive actions, and they understand the Biden administration.
But he ignored them.
The,
He ignored
the
it.
checks and balances.
The Supreme Court tried to stop me, but they never will.
But not
Who
in the
said
way
that?
that Donald
Who said
Trump
that?
is.
Who said
Not
that?
in the way that
Joe
Donald
Biden.
Yeah,
Joe
but
Biden.
Donald Trump
Scott,
has-
he actually didn't ignore it.
He
That's
did.
right.
They continue to
No.
push forward with
No,
student
he
aid. How
didn't.
much did
No,
they spend?
no,
No,
no.
Let me set the record
he
up.
We actually got dinged
didn't.
on the
I
student loan
hated
debt
the student
forgiveness.
loan forgiveness policy.
What did he say out
Hold on.
loud?
I thought
What
it
did he
was.
say
I
out
thought it
loud?
was a ridiculous
didn't
policy.
ignore it.
I thought it was unconstitutional. I predicted it would get struck down. It did get struck down, and I
didn't
applauded.
ignore it.
He did not ignore it, though. He went and tried under a different law.
So he ignored
You're
it.
allowed. No, that-
You see how they keep trying to marinate? He didn't ignore it into your brainwave.
It's not ignoring it. That
So
is
he was
trying
not
to
ignoring it.
be
He's trying to do it.
underlined. He
He's trying to do
literally
it.
defied it.
But let me just understand where you stand. If a district court judge rules in a way that the president dislikes, should the president listen or should the president defy?
If a district court judge tries to usurp the authority of the chief executive of this country, he should absolutely defy it. There's a difference between broad policy decisions and discrete disputes between parties. That's the difference. If I want a policy decided, I'll take it to the
But what
Supreme
about
Court.
checks and balances?
So you're saying that a judge should decide how and when money is spent
judge is saying-
for years and not the president of the
Look,
United
Scott,
States?
let me explain
Make it make
a little bit more.
sense.
Let me explain it a little bit more slowly.
What?
A judge is saying
You don't have to talk to me like that.
The nerve.
Congress.
I have a position on this, and you have an
Okay.
opinion. We can disagree.
Yeah, but I'm saying you listen to me because you're not listening and you're making claims that are not connected.
You listening and you make, okay, I'm gonna shut up, y'all. I know y'all like stop pausing, young man.
on this, and you have an
Okay.
opinion. We can disagree.
Yeah, but I'm saying you listen to me because you're not listening and you're making claims that are not connected to the facts. The judge is saying
Maybe you are.
Congress appropriated a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
We need to litigate this.
Okay.
While we litigate this, we're going to put a hold on the actions that you took that might be unconstitutional.
So while we
That's
litigate,
part of the
while we
process.
litigate
Why
this,
can't-
I'm
why
a
doesn't
judge
that
and
work?
I'm in charge of the executive branch, and you're not. Forget it.
Yeah,
I totally
you just
disagree.
can't compel the executive branch to spend the dollars. You can't do that. They
Okay.
can't say we're going to start. The
Have
judges
you
are going to
heard
start
of
writing
the
the checks. They have every
impoundment?
right to
Have you
hold
heard
that.
the
No matter who the president is, the duly elected chief executive of this country, they should not be sharing the broad plenary powers of the presidency with 300 individual district court judges. That is not what the people
That is a great
want.
position to take when you are in
is.
power.
Yeah,
but when
I
you are
will believe
not
it no
in
matter
power,
what.
Exactly.
District
when
court
you are
judges
not
are
in
different than the
power,
Supreme Court.
it's-
When you're not in power. When you're not in power. Oh my gosh, man. The meltdowns on here and the gall to sit there. You're not listening. He's listening and responding. You just don't like the response. So in return, you say that he's not listening when in fact, you're the one not listening. He's saying, yo, the chief executive has the authority, you know, to interact with Congress to get this stuff going. Not these district court federal judges. Like, no, bro. Like, what's going on, man? I don't get how they want to dismiss the fact that, yes, Biden, when this happened to him, he was like, all right, forget y'all. Let me go ahead and skip past this. Now, I told y'all it was more. You got a federal judge in New York temporarily blocking Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, from accessing Treasury Department systems, citing significant cybersecurity and privacy risks. Y'all do know that, I don't know if he still owns it today, but he owned several companies, which requires to have people's information. I mean, Tesla, when you get the car, I don't know how that all, and yeah, you got, even beyond that, he owned, I don't know if he still owns it, PayPal, which literally has all the information. And these claims that they're making against him weren't made then. Anyhow, this was yesterday, actually. Just then, federal judge Amy Berman Jackson has just blocked President Trump from firing U.S. Special Counsel Hampton Dillinger. This is getting ridiculous. Oh, man, we got more about her, though. Apparently, she's the Obama-appointed activist judge who dismissed the Benghazi charges against Hillary Clinton and is now blocking Trump's executive orders. I think that was the Benghazi, if please somebody refresh me on this. I believe that was something that happened like 2011, 12, or 13. It was in that era where 4 Americans ended up getting killed. Yeah. I think it was like, I don't even want to act like I know. But yeah, apparently the corruption runs deep with this woman right here. Now, she was nominated by President Barack Obama in 2010 and confirmed by the Senate in 2011. She has a reputation for being independent and has handled significant cases involving Trump. Now, these judges want to keep testing him. And the Obama appointed judges threatened Trump with arrest if he doesn't restore every dime of Paul's funding. These threats are getting deep. Desire added, so when does the judge have the power to override the president like this? He needs to be removed and jailed, Gunther added. Hold on, let me keep going. This is not going to end well for these judges and the Democrats. Trump has 70% support on him keeping his promises. The American people are with Trump. This dude, referring to Obama, before my presidency, there was no ISIS. There was no, what is that? Caliphate. I don't know how you say that. There was no Black Lives Matter. There was no Antifa. There was no war on police. I built that. Yes, Barack Obama built a great divide in this country. Now, y'all not gonna believe this. This is something that's pretty weird. Laura Loomer made this connection. All these judges that rule against Trump has some sort of daughter has a daughter that's making some money off of it somehow. Laura Loomer, Judge John McConnell, the federal judge from Rhode Island, who ordered the Trump administration and DOGE to unfreeze billions of dollars in federal grants, has a daughter who currently works for the U.S. Department of Education as a senior policy advisor and was appointed by Joe Biden on February 14th, 2022, which is a conflict of interest since Trump and DOGE are planning to defund the Department of Education. Now, she also says John J. McConnell Jr., a chief judge of the U.S. District Court in Rhode Island, ordered the Trump administration to immediately restore frozen funding and accused the Trump administration today of failing to comply with this prior order to unfreeze funding. The reason why Judge McConnell, a Democrat donor and activist, wants Trump to restore funding is because his daughter, here you go, Catherine McConnell, is currently employed by the same Department of Education that President Trump and Elon Musk wants to audit and defund. Oh, so it's a little touchy for you, McConnell. That's what it is. She was appointed by Joe Biden, and now her dad is abusing his power to protect her paycheck. She also adds this is a conflict of interest that Judge McConnell should have recused himself over, but he chose not to. He ruled against President Trump and abused his judicial power to protect his daughter's livelihood at the bloated U.S. Department of Education. Why do all these judges who hate President Trump have conflicts of interest with their Democrat daughters? And she has the receipts. She has the receipts. What do we have right here? Okay, so yeah, this is LinkedIn. It appears to be, and it says senior policy advisor, the U.S. Department of Education right there. Yup, experienced 3 years, 1 month. In Washington, senior policy advisor, officer of career, technical, and audit education. Adult. Fumbling words. An interview with ongoing board chair Jack McConnell. Y'all go ahead and read that up right there. What we got right here? Yep, Catherine McConnell, Special Assistant, Department of Education. She was appointed on February 14th on Valentine's Day. Oh man, these people are corrupt. But Mike Lee is gonna go on Fox News real quick and explain to us how these judges are out of line.
And now an unelected Obama judge in Rhode Island must be feeling very full of himself tonight. because in a ruling issued earlier today, he railed against President Trump and the DOGE crew for failing to comply with his order, one judge's order, to unfreeze federal spending. Judge John J. McConnell handed it down after 22 blue states just were up in arms that funding hadn't been restored. Of course, they went for the sympathy play, citing HIV services in the Congo and a public health grant to Namibia. Now, McConnell had ruled previously that the Trump team had overstepped its executive authority by halting the monies. But if one judge, is going to have the power to stop the Trump cleanup crew in its tracks, don't you think we should know a little bit more about him? And yeah, it's as bad as you would imagine. McConnell once served as treasurer of the Rhode Island Democratic State Committee, and he donated more than $100K to liberal Democrats, including to Biden, to Hillary, to the DNC, and a really hefty chunk of cash to the Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee. The list goes on and on. So again, this is an unbiased jurist. This is someone who has the power, can keep scrolling, guys, have the power to do what? To issue a nationwide injunction and stop a duly elected president from doing what the voters elected him to do. It is a scandal. Joining me now, Utah Senator Mike Lee of the Judiciary Committee, former Supreme Court law clerk. Senator, in total, more than 40 lawsuits have already been filed against the Trump administration. You and I predicted this. We knew this was coming. And some of the adverse rulings have come even from a few Republican appointees. But I want to focus on this judge in Rhode Island in particular.
Yeah, every time I come to this screen, she just got her face just, I'm always interrupting the face. My bad, y'all, my bad.
A few Republican appointees, but I want to focus on this judge in Rhode Island in particular. Should the White House, in your estimation, you've looked at the pleadings, prevail on the merits here?
Yes.
Yes, I believe the White House will prevail on the merits of this case and of the other cases that are now pending. Look, Laura, it's important to remember this is entirely within the purview of the executive branch. What they're looking to do, Elon Musk and the DOGE crew are going in looking for waste, fraud, and abuse, looking to ferret out ways that we can stop this problem that's landed us $36 trillion in debt with no easy way out. So the fact that they're doing this, and they're doing it within what the law allows, this is where Democrats get upset, and they go running to the courts. Having lost in the court of public opinion, having lost elections, they're now going to try their hand at litigating and at picking off a few liberal one-off judges here and there in order to slow the process down. But make no mistake, Laura, we're all going to win. The right side of this is going to prevail. This is just a matter of delay, but we need to keep this delay as brief as possible.
Well, the other issue here, I think, for a lot of Americans are very confused about how a single district court judge in a forum like the First Circuit, which covers a lot of these New England states, can actually grind a president's agenda to a halt. And who ultimately would put an end to this? Would the Supreme Court ultimately rule on this? Unlikely would probably get a law, be able to get a law through Congress, I don't know, ending these national injunctions. But this has got to stop. This is insanity.
Look, one would hope, Laura, when these orders first started coming out a few days ago, I immediately commented on X on my base Mike Lee account that it's probably a moment like this when you go and you seek an extraordinary writ of mandamus. This is a way of stopping abusive action by a district judge midstream. Now, the Court of Appeals could do that. If necessary, they could seek what's called certiorari before judgment to get the whole case expedited in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. And I hope and expect that Pam Bondi and her team of lawyers at the Department of Justice will consider all these options, because these judges are out of line. They don't have the authority to go in and commandeer the presidency and undo the election of November 2024.
So you have a Seattle judge, you have a D.C. district judge, Carl Nichols, who clerked for our former boss, Justice Thomas. You have a Boston judge, you have a Rhode Island judge, you have a couple of old Reagan appointees. You have a judge who came up for transgender inmates. You have another ruling on that was filed on behalf of pregnant illegals on birthright citizenship.
Wow.
So these are coming fast and furious. And the goal here is to just slow it down. So people get demoralized, and I guess they go back to what? Business as usual? I don't think the Trump team is about business as usual.
No, they're not about business as usual at all. That's why I anticipate that these delays will last maybe a few days, hopefully not more than a week or two, because there is no there. What they're trying to do is entirely lawful. It's within the scope of presidential authority, and therefore the authority of what President Trump has asked DOGE to do. We're very lucky that we've got these talented people willing to undertake these efforts on our behalf, and I wish them every success in doing this. In the meantime, I hope and expect the Trump administration's lawyers will push back hard and make sure that these judges don't get in the way, because you're exactly right. They want to delay this, hoping that it'll just go away. We're not going away. The effort's not going to end.
Senator, the First Circuit Court of Appeals, again, we don't want to get too wonky, people watching this like, oh, this is not a continuing legal education course, but the First Circuit Court of Appeals is 5 Democrat appointees, right? That's the appellate point from these district courts decisions in Boston and Rhode Island. And they're going to go up to the First Circuit. There are no Republicans on the First Circuit now, correct, Mike?
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. And look, you're not always able to predict the outcome based on which president appointed them.
Yeah,
and sometimes you can get a pretty good guess. If they don't get what they need there, I think they should go right along to the Supreme Court and seek the relief there.
Bingo. Senator, so great to have you on tonight. Thank you so much.
I appreciate him explaining it and breaking it down on what he did. The lawfare is just gonna continue. And as I pointed out last time, if the Democrats would have succeeded in taking Trump out, we would have never known any of this. And we have to be extremely grateful and thankful for the likes of Elon Musk, man, and DOGE and Donald Trump for appointing him to be able to get this taken care of. Trump Gunner says Senator Mike Lee is absolutely right. Judges overstepping to interfere with the election process is unacceptable. It's great to see the Trump team standing firm. We need to ensure the integrity of our elections and respect the will of the voters. Let's keep pushing back. Do as Biden did and ignore these judges and continue to do it anyways. Loan forgiveness, remember that. File appeals to the SCOTUS. These judges can rule all day, but they cannot enforce anything. But as I said earlier, can these judges be fired? Because Patriot Steve just added, these activist judges can and should be impeached. Do you agree? Catch you in the next video. I'm gonna hold you to it. I'm gonna hold you to it.